Hello, welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use constraints in Figma. It's a super handy little tool and allows you to make a few small decisions within one screen. And then from that one screen, you can duplicate that screen and not having to recreate the wheel from scratch and having to make all kinds of screens and removing everything around. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let's go. Very quickly, I'm jumping into Figma here. What I'm going to do is I'll show you a couple examples in here very quickly how constraints work. And then I'll jump into a real life situation and show you how I would use constraints with this design that I'm working on. So why do we even need constraints? So we have this iPhone 11 Pro, for example, and what happens if we have a larger device that's more wider potentially, whether it's an Android, whatever it is, or a Samsung, whatever, or an iPhone Max size or something like that. You want kind of your iconography and you want your buttons and things like that to kind of move along. So just as a quick example, there might be a back button here, and I'll show you how this works. There might be on the top left back button, and there might be a more button on the top right. Maybe you would have like a navigation at the bottom, and also maybe you might have some kind of fixed icon that might stay here. So what I want to do is, if I have these larger devices, I want some of these icons and things, navigations and buttons, to stay in the correct place. So let me show you an example. So by default, we just made this. As you could see here, the constraint is left and top. And if I change the constraint to top and right, and I make this thing larger, see how that icon kind of moves, stays fixed on the right side. And that's just an example. So we actually want to keep that one on the left. Let's maybe change this one to the right. So now we have this one on the right. If we make this thing larger, you can see that it's staying fixed to the right. Pretty cool. And then this icon, let's do that to the bottom and the right. And you could see here that it's staying on the right side and at the bottom. Whereas before, I'm going to bring it back to where we had it. See, if we move it, it kind of stays top left, and it gets broken depending on the size. So I'm going to bring that back to how we just had it. And then the navigation, lastly, I'm going to put that bottom, and I'm going to put this thing left and right. So we could see here that if we stretch this out, those icons are staying in the place that we would expect them to stay, and that bottom navigation is staying fixed at the bottom, and that icon is also staying fixed at the bottom. When we have larger size phones like this, for example, we don't have to take these icons and put them in the different places that they existed on the original one. We kind of have these rules, and you can just copy your phone or device that you're working on and kind of adjust it, and it'll just kind of keep those rules, whether it's bigger or even smaller devices. It just kind of follows those rules. Very nice. So now let's move on to the real life situation. And this is kind of something that I've been working on. So let's same kind of concept. Let's move these out of the way. This is the final result, and this is the larger device. But let's just move these out of the way for now, so we can concentrate on what we're working on. So by default, this is a 375 by 812, which is a normal iPhone size. And you can see here, if I make this larger or smaller, things just kind of stay fixed to the top left, which is what they are by default. Let me show you. Top left, that's kind of the default. Everything's kind of top left in the constraint rules. So now same thing, if we want to change, let's start off with the top bar. I know it's hard to see it. Let me adjust that so you can see it a little bit better. But as you can see, we're moving things around and it's not working. So then I'm going to just choose this time. Top left is good. I'm going to choose that one, and top right. So now I am moving these around. You can see it's staying fixed. Let's take this market. I'm going to have that kind of centered and fixed at the top. Having this whole panel center and fix at the top. Having this whole, actually let's go here And these kind of sections, what I'm going to do is choose. So that one should be top left. This one should be center. And this section should be right. So as we could see, as I'm making that bigger, you can see they're staying. Actually, I forgot to show an example what it kind of happens when it with the default, the way that it was by default. So I'm just going to change those back. So you could see that the default was something like this. So you can see the difference. Move them at the same time for you. So you can see what's happening to the one we just changed compared to the original way that it was. So I'm going to take those away. I'm going to bring this down. And let's put like a 12 pixel spacing. I'm going to press Command D and just duplicate those. Put those all together. You want to make sure you select all these boxes here. And you want to make it left and right. So you could see here when we move these, they're staying in their appropriate places. Depending on what you want to do to, let me show you something you can do. So this, you could choose, maybe this one we had it at center. Maybe if you put it at scale, you could see the difference. You might want to see how it kind of expands this out, but it kind of stretches it. That's something you might want to do potentially, depending on how big and small your devices are. So let me just get rid of that. So as you could see, the bottom navigation is the only thing not working correctly for now. So let's fix that. So we're going to take the whole navigation. We're going to put that to the bottom and we're going to use left and right. I'm going to come to each icon. That one should be bottom and left. The middle one, the center one should be center and bottom. Same thing with notifications, center and bottom. And that last one, the settings icon, should be right and bottom. So let's move these and see what happens. Whoops. So as you could see what just happened, the notification gets larger, and the reason that's happening, that's good that that happened. I'll pretend like that was on purpose. This left and right should be centered so it doesn't stretch it. It just kind of stays in place in the middle. So as you can see, it's doing that. So this is pretty much how Constraint works, and it's really good for when you have a lot of different size devices. So let's say we have an iPhone, like a larger iPhone, and then let's say iPhone whatever, and let's say there's actually about to be a new iPhone coming out. It's going to be smaller, iPhone 12, I believe. So let's say there's something like this, a little bit smaller, and these constraints allow us to have a lot of different sizes, but not having to manually redesign these, because otherwise what we would have to do is have this larger size. We would have to come in and put all these different things in there and put them in the appropriate places. Rather than doing that, we kind of set these rules and just experiment with some of these left and right and bottom and center constraints. Thank you so much for checking out this video regarding how to use constraints in Figma. I hope I wasn't going too fast, and if I might have missed anything, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, I do videos like this all the time, and I'll be doing more interesting videos like this in the future, so feel free to subscribe to me if you haven't already done so, and also like this video and let your friends know about it as well if this is something that interests them. Otherwise, have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.